Well, let's get some business news for you now. Delano de Souza is with me in the studio. And Delano, it's a big event every year here in Paris. It is the Paris Airshow, Le Bourget, all the big air companies down there trying to sell some airplanes. How's it been going?
That's right, Laura. The two biggest plane manufacturers, Airbus and Boeing, wasted no time going head-to-head. At the end of the first day, it was Advantage Airbus that took home orders for 140 planes, while Boeing's tally stood at around 80. Now, also at the Paris Airshow, India's Mahindra group bagged a multi-million-dollar contract with Airbus. Its subsidiary, Mahindra Aerospace, will supply metallic parts to the company. The deal that took 5 years to finalize will no doubt serve as a boost for the Indian Prime Minister's Make in India campaign.
I'm glad the process was long, because when you look back at it, it serves as evidence that the process was rigorous and therefore will lead to greater confidence from the manufacturer, and therefore I think larger orders in a shorter period of time. The moment you can demonstrate that you have companies in India that can manufacture to the rigorous requirements of companies such as Airbus, then you are already validating your contention that making in India for the world is a very viable aspiration to have.
That was Mahindra speaking to France 24 earlier in the day. Now, talks between Greece and its creditors broke down once again this weekend, with both sides blaming the other. France's President François Hollande warned of a phase of turbulence if no deal is reached. Greece now says it's willing to go back to the negotiating table, but some within the EU say it's time the bloc prepares for a state of emergency. Charles Pellegrin has the latest.
Tensions keep rising between Greece and its creditors. Athens now has 2 weeks to find a way to pay off its €1.6 billion bill to the IMF. Negotiations broke down, and the president of the European Parliament says the fault lies squarely with Greece.
We fully understand the Greek government's concerns about raising the value-added tax or the medical sector, or raising energy fees or lowering pensions, but I have no sympathy for their refusal to reform the pension structure, which is necessary. I think Mr. Varoufakis should not be touring Europe delivering big speeches. He should be in Athens doing his homework.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras explained in a column that the institutions were in fact responsible for the impasse and for his country's dire economic situation. Responding to questions in the EU Parliament, the president of the ECB explained that between 2010 and 2015, financial flows to Greece amounted to €223 billion, which represents 125% of the country's GDP, showing the EU's willingness to help.
I don't want to overplay the significance of these numbers, which are significant, by the way, but just to say that to show the drama of the Greek situation today doesn't amount to say that the responsibles for this situation are the others, or only the others.
Talks will resume on Thursday when the European Union's finance ministers meet in Brussels.
News talks with Greece hit another roadblock, set stocks in the country tumbling this Monday. The ASE index over in Athens closed the session down over 4.5%. Elsewhere in Europe, markets traded to the downside. The uncertainty surrounding Greece no doubt impacting European stocks. The CAC 40 here in Paris closed down 1.7%. Similar picture on the DAX and London's FTSE. There you can see red across the board. London's FTSE down about 1%. DAX close to 2% lower. Over on Wall Street, stocks picked up their cues from Europe. Weak economic data combined with fears of a Greek default is keeping the Dow Jones, Nasdaq and S&P all in negative territory. As you can see there, the Dow Jones down 0.6%, Nasdaq and S&P down 0.5%. Let's take a look at some of the other stories making headlines at this hour. Canadian retailer Hudson's Bay is buying Germany's Galeria Kaufhof for €2.8 billion. The deal marks the company's first expansion onto European soil. Hudson's Bay operates well-known US retailer Saks Fifth Avenue, and the company says it will open up Saks stores in Germany and Belgium as part of the deal. The Saudi stock market has opened up to foreign investors. Until now, the exchange valued at $585 billion was only accessible through a local institution. The move comes at a crucial time for the kingdom after last year's plunge in oil prices restricted government spending. Chinese internet giant Alibaba plans to mimic Netflix and launch a video streaming service in China. The company says it will roll out the offering within the next 2 months. Alibaba has been looking to expand its services beyond e-commerce. And the announcement comes 1 month after Netflix says it was in talks to begin video streaming services in China. 2 of China's top taxi apps plan to raise $1.5 billion to take on Uber. According to Bloomberg News, the deal values the Didi and Kaori apps at between $12 to $15 billion. Uber says it plans to invest around $1 billion in its operations in China this year. Booking apps have become a headache for Chinese taxi drivers, with many taking to the streets in recent days. And the Uber story, following on from that, last week we spoke about Uber Pop here in France, that they launched services in Marseille. The taxi drivers
are really not happy about that.
Not happy about it, and so they scrapped Uber Pop in Marseille.
Ah, I see. Okay, and I see they've just launched Uber in some other cities in the UK. So they're kind of winning some, losing some, aren't they? That company.
But I don't know if the New York Times did a story a couple of last week or two weeks ago about how Paris is cracking down on Uber Pop. But I spoke to an Uber driver this weekend, and he said they're turning a blind eye to Uber Pop versus other cities in France because they know there's a need for taxis.
Yeah, well, that's the big problem, isn't it? You can't get a taxi in Paris, especially when it's raining.
Especially on Saturday night, if you go out, it's tough to.
Oh, my Saturday nights out ended a long time ago. Thank you very much indeed, though. Delano D'Souza there with The Business. You'll be back with another update in an hour.
That's right.
All right, we'll see how the markets are faring then. All right, we're going to take a very short break here on France 24. Do stay with us. When we come back, more international news and headlines for us. Stay with us.